Okay, perfect. So let's get right into it. Another beautiful episode of the European Herpetoculture Podcast. Today I am joined by two very beautiful men. One from Belgium, it's Sam Aneca. It's great to have you around, and he has already been a guest to the show, so most of you might know him. Also, I am joined by Flo from the city of Copenhagen. Thank you for being here, you two.
Thank you for being here as well, Benny boy from
Thanks
Germany.
for
Let's
thanks for
go.
having me again also.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
thank you.
course. It's really looking
So,
forward.
why are we having you today, Sam? It is because we are going to speak about a specific topic that you kind of introduced to my field of view, so to say. It is the science-based husbandry. And so we came together because this today's episode, it's the next step of our community terrarium project, and that is where we want to show like the an ideal process behind getting into a new species or acquiring a new animal. In the past episode, we already discussed the topic, what does it take for a species to qualify as your dream species? And what does it take for you to decide to keep this animal? That's the episode we already did, and that's
All
where
right.
Flo already told us which species he is going to choose. And so today we're going to build up on that. We're going to do the scientific research behind it. And that's where Sam is going to guide us with in a workshop scenario. But first, I would like you, Flo, to give us a quick introduction about the current state of the project and maybe to the listeners who don't know about your situation, just summarize it in one or two sentences.
Right. So our current state is like pretty much all I could do for now. I'm just waiting for the master Ben to join me here and finish the enclosure. I just built like this week the floating mount wall or little cabinet
Shelf.
that
Uh-huh.
the terrarium sits on. And yeah, so far everything is going smooth. I fucked it up a little bit with measuring, so I had to cut some stuff off, but it was not the smartest one. Yeah,
Can
but
we
I'm
see it
going to
behind
cut.
you? I mean,
Yeah, you can see
it's
it.
a corner. Oh, okay.
But I'm going to cover it with aluminum panels.
Okay.
I figured out how I do it, and then everything is going to look smooth because now some of the edges are like
Not
they are not
perfectly
looking
straight.
good.
Yeah, okay.
No, no, no,
and
no,
and no pink lighting like Ben's place,
no,
just
not
to
yet.
Now we're
Not
gonna
yet.
get
do
the
that.
cyberpunk
No
view.
cyberpunk lighting yet.
No.
No, but it's the current state. So
So which
far, the
species
people,
did you pick for the guys who don't know?
yeah, I picked the Pristurus carteri from Oman, the little scorpion-tailed geckos.
All right.
Just like a fun little gecko and something very different with the desert environment that I challenged myself because for a long time I was like, no arid setup for me. But now I was like, why not? Why not?
Mm.
It's like just stupid to say to yourself, oh, I don't like arid setups. You didn't do it right, Flo. That's why you didn't like it, I think.
Nothing better than a good desert It's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now
and
I'm
also
looking
it
really forward. Yeah.
doesn't have to be fully arid, right? It can be a little bit like a semi-mildish, a little bit of a deep substrate and some moisture inside of there,
Yeah,
some
of course.
succulents, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the
Oh.
main part is gonna be a cool background that I
Uh-huh.
really gonna take some time on
Yeah.
because I feel
That's
now a little bit more comfortable of putting in better work than the last enclosures because of the experience I gained over the last years. But yeah, that's going to be fun.
That's also the cool thing about the proportions of your tank because it's a little bit narrow, but on the other hand, pretty tall. I think you can make a really cool rock back wall with some overhangs and some shadow below and stuff. I think it can be really cool.
What are the
Yeah.
proportions actually? Because I actually don't
It's
know.
yeah, it's 60 centimeters long, 30
All right.
deep, and I
How
think
deep?
80, 30.
30.
So
Okay.
not that deep,
Yeah.
but 80 high. So maybe
Okay.
for some people it's like weird to put a cutlery in there, but I feel like if I do a nice background with like some more space to walk on. It's like
Yeah,
fine for them.
can make it
Yeah,
more
really.
functional. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I'm really looking forward. So they look so cute and also so cool and active. Like
Yeah,
day and
man.
night active, like completely different to like the animals that I had before. And it's also cool to have like nothing like also too crazy fancy, They're still like amazing animals. And maybe I have the feeling I will enjoy it even like a bit more because they're more interactive than like, for example, the Enyalioides or the
Hmm.
Corotophanes. I
yeah,
felt like I missed that part with them a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what we
yeah.
spoke about.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but we will see.
Man, they are so fucking cute. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
watching at some pictures in the background, but we're gonna do that later.
yeah.
So, science-based husbandry, what does that actually mean? We're gonna discuss that today, and hopefully the results of today's session or today's workshop will be that we have a good base of true data that backs up decisions we are making for constructing the terrarium. So, Sam is gonna just give us a quick introduction about the idea behind science-based husbandry, and maybe you can also quickly mention some resources that you can recommend. So me in the background, I can already, open up the different sources so that after the little talk that you're gonna give us, then we are going to jump into really collecting the data and building a Google Drive so that all the information will be available to you, Flo. So Sam, please tell us about your journey with the topic of science-based husbandry and what you actually do around this topic.
All right. I'm going to take it back a bit because I actually started working on this topic when I started working at the Antwerp Zoo. Because before I worked at the Antwerp Zoo, I was just a normal hobbyist, actually. Just someone who had a very diverse collection of animals, all different types of reptiles and amphibians. And I started working at the zoo. And then I thought that the people at the zoo would have like a wealth of information of sources where they get their information to keep animals from. But then I was kind of disappointed because actually a lot of the species that we kept at the zoo, they also just search information on the internet, and that's the way they kept them. So then I thought maybe this is a bit weird that they just keep them also in the zoo in the same way that I search for them on the internet as a hobbyist.
Hmm.
But then I found through doing a bit more research that there also is something like um, best captive guidelines, which are like these, I should say, guides for different species that are designed by curators of different zoos. For instance, you have them for the crocodile monitors, you have them for the sand lizards. So you have them for different types of reptiles, amphibians, also mammals and birds, but not for all species, of course. And when I look in that guideline, the first thing they start off is with field data. They always start off with field data. They start off with climate data. So that's something that I found really interesting, of course. And then when I listened to the podcast of Animals at Home, Professor Zach Loafman, I should pronounce his name right, who also teaches um, a course on in West Liberty University about zoo science, was talking about particular research he did, which is called, I should tell you, the utilization of natural history information in evidence-based herpetoculture. So he already used the name evidence-based uh, herpetoculture. So it's not something, the science-based husbandry is not something I invented, absolutely not. So it's something that I got from Zach Loffman, for instance. And then he talks in this document about the fact that his students at the university had difficulty with finding good data. because they didn't know where to look and what to look for. And then he made like this concept paper on how to find good information on the internet, in books, with knowledgeable people, of course, for a species you want to research. And he used the false water cobras in that paper as an example. So the thing is that with the paper of Zach Laufman and also with the best captive guidelines of best practice guidelines, which they are called from the curators of different zoos, which are managed under the EASA, so the European Association of Zoos and Aquaria. I found that there is a better way also for some hobbyists to also tackle a new species. So I thought that my information is the information I had from working at the zoo now, and also information that I had from other keepers, because I visited a lot of zoos when I was a zookeeper, not anymore now, and also taught me where they found information. And then I thought, I have this knowledge now as a zookeeper, I should also tell this to like hobbyists, and that's why I designed the course together with Herpetological Education and Research Project. I designed the course Science-Based Husbandry to actually give that information, give that knowledge to hobbyists. Because if you don't work at a zoo, you can find information, but in a zoo setting, you're working with it day and night. So I really wanted to share my journey also in getting to know more about science-based husbandry, and that's why I took a deep dive into that topic. And and so now when I have a new species, I use all these different resources to tackle it. And so that's my journey.
Nice. That's super interesting and also helpful, because I feel like that's where a lot of hobbies, new ones, and even like people that are longer in the hobby struggle with, like, to find the right and correct information about an animal that you are interested in, because there are so many sources out there. And even now, when you check, for example, ChatGPT or something, you get sometimes such weird answers. So it's good to have like a concept. Okay, now okay, for climate data, I can check this website. For habitat pictures, I can check this one. So it's pretty nice. But actually, crazy that like also you always think that zoos are like so advanced, like, oh yeah, they of course have like everything where you can find data, and it's also interesting that it's not like that.
I think it depends from zoo to zoo, because, for instance, one of my colleagues went for a week to Chester Zoo, which is a famous zoo in the UK, of course, and she also brought back some information how they make like these natural history profiles, these best practice guidelines for all their species they keep. But also these zookeepers also have to look for information in different sources, which we also going to do today. So it's actually what they do at the zoo is also what we are going to do today. But it's something that a lot of hobbyists don't do, because, for instance, I've been keeping leopard geckos since I'm 11 years old, but it's only like, I have to be honest, it's only been 3 years since I know actually which kind of habitat leopard geckos really live, because I always learned that they were desert species. I always was taught on different sources on YouTube when I was younger, also reptile books, that they're like really desert species. Just give them sand, give them a pile of rocks, and they live between them. But if you look at the habitats a bit more closely, you see that they're not really a pure desert species. They have a really big range of habitats they live in. So so the thing is that if I want to keep a species now, and the thing is also what you want to do today, is that you really have to start with the basics and have to go on like a trip through the internet, and if you can, always visit the country of the animal that you want to keep. But Oman is not so close by, of course.
Did you already visit the leopard gecko habitat?
No, 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 no. I haven't. I
Oh
haven't.
man, but that could be interesting, especially
Yeah,
looking for them in the wild and really seeing in which like niches you can find them.
yeah, of
I'm
course,
pretty
yeah.
sure more often than not you will be surprised by also maybe the type of moisture that you can find in these type of habitats because
Mm,
especially during some specific times of the day, maybe in the early morning or in the late evening, you can really find some condensation below some rocks, where the rock is still heated up, but the surrounding is already getting colder or vice versa. And I'm pretty sure you will be surprised. And oftentimes you look at these desert species as to be kept dry throughout all of the year and also throughout all of the day. But I'm really thinking I would say most species, it can be beneficial to even add a misting system, especially for the morning times or something like that. And that's
Yeah,
something that you can really get a feeling for if you experience the habitat
yeah,
firsthand.
mm, yeah,
yeah.
that's so
I've
true.
been to like Morocco
Hmm.
to really
Recently.
like yeah. You really sense in the morning it's cold. At night it's cold. So they have this drop in the night, and you have this condensation. Also, if you're not close to the sea, you also have the condensation
Hmm. Hmm.
of the humidity in the air on cold surfaces. So it's something that's there. And yeah, Morocco is also like you also have yeah real desert habitats, of course, in Morocco. So I can imagine in Oman it would be the same, especially the coast. The humidity is most of the time a bit higher in general.
Yeah, that's true. And so I just thought about it like today that it's so crazy that some of the key species that we have in the hobby, like leopard geckos, corn snakes, ball pythons, for me, it's even like weird to see an animal, for example, ball python in a natural type enclosure, like not in a tub. For me, it's like, oh no, this feels weird because you're so used to it that like a ball python is in a rack. And
Yeah,
I thought today, like, that's insane that you like have this kind of mindset. Like, it's, oh, it feels weird to see the snake in a
yeah,
real like
yeah. Because we were
enclosure.
raised that way. I
Yeah,
think we're all three like a YouTube generation.
Yeah,
So we looked a lot at different channels on YouTube that were pretty big, pretty fast. Like in I don't know 2010, these years. Yeah. So yeah, the thing is that we had
yeah,
these resources like YouTube, which is just very easy information. But yeah, I think people who didn't have YouTube, like people in the 90s and before, they really had to look for information in books and look for climate data for species that were not ready already in captivity, for instance. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And you can really get just used to seeing the animals in just kind of basic shitty habitats because everybody's doing it and you just normalize it and maybe it's the easy
yeah,
way. And sometimes yeah, maybe it's sometimes more easy to not take so much effort and I don't know, just throw in a couple of basic rocks and a heat lamp and that's just basically it and don't care so much about the change of the climate throughout the year, maybe because the species is gonna live, and yeah, maybe that's all you want. But there's so much more to understanding really what it takes to supply all different factors to the animal. Yeah, and it's at the end of the day not only about the right lighting rhythm and the temperature. It is so much more. Also, some behaviors might have to do with, for example, the uptaking of water from condensation, for example. So that might change the activity cycle throughout the day or whatever. And I think we're just scratching the surface of really giving our animals what they deserve. Because at the end of the day, uh, a lot of stuff is possible. We just need to figure out how to do it. And the
Mm.
information is out there. Unluckily, uh, especially the results on Google or, as you said, ChatGPT, for example, are not always reliable. So that's why we are now striving to get to the source of truth. So it's like you can also call it the first principles thinking, because you do not look out for what other people have already done and you try to copy it, but you much rather search for what you know is true. And
Yeah.
what you know is true, it is where does the animal come from? So where can the animal be found? And then therefore, what temperature cycles throughout the day, throughout the year, can I find at this certain point in the world? And which parameters can I then try to replicate? And this is the first principles that we want to apply today. And everything that we cannot find, because you cannot always find all the data imaginable, everything that we cannot find, so the missing puzzle pieces, we are then going to fill with the information that we know from successful keeping. So
Yeah.
that's the second
Mm.
principles. Maybe Sam, you can give us a quick run through the, yeah, let's say process. If you were confronted with researching a new animal just today, you made a decision about, oh man, I would love to keep this and that species, then just walk us through which steps you're going to take in the right order and which sources you're maybe going to use. And also please tell us which species you're most hyped about at the moment.
All right. Yeah. I think for a lot of people, we already know the source. I'm naturalist, and it's a habit of mine to spend a bit too much time at that application, especially in my bed at night, because when I find like a new species, because it's almost like every week I find a new species of lizard or another reptile. I think, oh, that's nice. I want to know where it lives because I have never seen before because there are so many species. And the one I was the one I'm now like yesterday was looking up to of where I was searching for is Matabosaurus validus, which is
What
the
the fuck? Say that again slowly, please.
Matabosaurus validus, which is like the biggest
Oh
blade
yeah,
lizard. Yeah,
okay. Fucking hell,
yeah.
yeah.
So I was looking into that one
Yeah.
because we have one at the zoo.
They're
One
insane.
single, I think male it is. And I was just looking into it. And then I went to iNaturalist to see where it lives. So that's the first step I always do. I go to iNaturalist, and then I just look where people made like a picture. And they always have, when you make a picture, you always have to say the location, of course, and then you can see all the places where people found the animal. So that's one thing I do, and it's just really nice to go to that site and just look up where they live and also see the photos, of course. When it comes to distribution, I always also use IUCN Redlist,
Okay.
which is a site also more known to see if a species is endangered or not, of whether it's vulnerable or critically endangered. So that's very interesting. It's always also give the distribution, so that's also another site you can check
Can you find information about
to
all
find.
species or only about the endangered ones?
No, all species. Yeah. So also least concern. So here you can see where they live. But I have to say it's not always very accurate because my friends from Herp, they went to Namibia and this animal, this species in Namibia. So here you can see it's not found in Namibia. Yeah. So that's two sites I check, and of course, in naturalist, you sometimes, but it's not that easy. Have some good photos of the surrounding habitat the animal lives in, because most of the time it's like portrait photography. A lot of it is aged, like capture the animal, put it on the rock,
Mm.
then like cover their hands with it, and then they try to make a good picture. But that's not really where the animal is living at the moment. So most of the times, if people have like big zoom lenses, that's bigger because they don't have to like capture the animal to take the picture. So that's a really cool photo. There's one photo that's actually now in my background. I just copied it from iNaturalist,
All
where you can
right.
see like this family of this
Oh,
species
this one.
between the rocks. Yeah, that's one, but there's one photo with very good quality. And it's very cool because you can see from the photos that this species is a species that's communal. You have a male, females, and the young also live with the male and the female. So that's very, very cool to see just by
So
the
they are really
pictures.
forming like little family groups.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
and they're pretty big. Males are big animals, so it's a very cool species, I think. Also, the thing is, I of course keep most of my animals outside,
Yeah, yeah.
and this animal also lives in South Africa, which has a moment in the year where it's a bit cooler. So I think this could be also an animal that you could keep in some sort of heated greenhouse setting.
Man.
But it's a very cool animal. They're very flighty, if that's a um,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
existing word.
So a
Yeah.
little bit
But
nervous.
but I think once they're used to people, they would make like great pets in a bigger enclosure because they use the space.
I can imagine.
So you can see that they love like these rocky outcrops, and they really use like these rocks to bask, of course. But you
Man,
can also see the vegetation and stuff. So
such a good example because here we've got an endless amount of habitat pictures, and
yeah,
usually you don't have that in this amount. I mean, it's crazy. I'm scrolling, and it just doesn't end. And it's so cool to see them really in this type of habitats that you can, yeah,
Yeah.
really
yeah,
find them. Also to see the plants. I mean, I'm sure you could, if you wanted to, use the Google Lens to identify the plant species
yeah.
on the pictures, and you really get a feeling for the terrain. How do you say
Yeah.
terrain? And the
The
yeah,
terrain, yeah.
terrain, right?
Just
Yeah,
the soil type
rock
maybe also.
formations, the soil
Yeah,
type,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Also the coloration of the rocks and stuff like
yeah.
that you can use for a background. Yeah,
I think
this is
it's there are a lot
man,
of
such a good
pictures because
example.
they live in like these big wild, like these big safari parks also.
mhm.
Okay.
So I think there are a lot of tourists, a lot of people who visit the place, and that's why they have a lot of photos of them on the internet.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Mhm.
To me, they seem to be really an intelligent species. I'm not sure why, but I have the feeling that oh, that's the picture that
yeah,
you've
that's
been talking
not
about.
yeah, that's the one that's on my background right now because
Ah, I knew it.
it's really clear. It has a really good yeah, high definition picture to say. So
Man, they are
yeah, I
beautiful.
love them. I love them. I know
Yeah.
someone who breeds them in Germany. So I have contact with him, but it's not this moment. It's not. I don't have like the greenhouse at the moment. So,
Mm.
but it's someone that I'm just keeping in my contacts. If I ever want to keep the species,
Yeah, yeah.
he'd be the one to contact. So,
Does
yeah.
he do
So
hibernation with
that's
them?
yeah. He cools them down. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's all. Of course, the next step of the process. The first step is see the distribution of the animal, see the surroundings of the animal, where the animal lives.
Okay.
And the next step, of course, is the climate data.
Okay. So where did we get
Um,
that from?
I use Spark. It's also a site that was recommended, I think, by Zach Laufman, which is the same man who wrote the paper I was talking about earlier. So WeatherSpark is a website which is really cool because if you go look for it, you can just take a random place because you start with like this beginning screen with all different cities. You can just pick a city. So you can go for Paris or London. I don't know. I just pick a city. I don't like type in the where he lives. And then when you you look a bit further, then you can scroll and go look for a map. And then
Let
on
me
that map,
know, Sam, let me know from the example of the flatted rock lizards,
yeah.
which area should I look for?
Well, what I do is just pick a city. Just go for Paris, for instance.
Okay,
Yeah.
Paris.
And then on the right, you have the little map. You can just click on it, and then you just shut that. Yeah.
What the
And then you go
fuck?
to yeah. Yeah, you just
Crazy.
zoom
Yeah.
out and then you go to the place.
What the
You
fuck?
just compare like the IUCN distribution map and also the
Okay,
findings
so here we
of
have the Mozambique, Botswana area.
Zimbabwe.
Uh,
Zimbabwe is like the center. Zimbabwe is like the
let's go.
center where they live.
Okay,
So
perfect.
then you go
Let me
to
just quickly compare that to the
yeah,
iNaturalist.
no problem.
You can keep talking. Okay.
and then you could just look for the the climate data they have. Yeah, it's almost the same, eh? On the
Okay.
naturalist. So
Yeah,
I'm just
okay.
looking at the screen now. So then you just look for like all the climate data you can find. So you go look for these colored maps because you
Let's
have
go for
Weather
this one.
Spark. Yeah. So Weather Spark, you can see like these colored maps, which give you an idea of the temperatures. One places that are very red, where you see like very red climate
Okay.
data. I don't know how to call it because it's not like a really uh, a curve or something, because it's a representation in color. But places that are really red are like always hot. Places with like green are also places with like a more cooler temperature.
Okay,
So here
okay.
you can see, yeah. So it's a bit difficult to explain, but here you can see like how the year looks like in January, for instance, because it's on the southern part of the globe, of course. The summer is in our winter, so the summer is in January and February and December, of course. So now it's pretty hot in Zimbabwe and South Africa. So they have pretty warm climates. For instance, at between 12 and I think 18, so between 12, how do you call it, and between 12 and 6 p.m., for
Mm-hmm.
instance, it's
Yeah.
pretty hot. It's warm, so it's between 24 and 29 degrees Celsius. But if you go look in the winter, actually, in the temperatures in the afternoon are also pretty okay, between 18 and 24. But in at night, it's between 7 and 30, for instance. So you also have like this cool drop. So that's a site I use a lot just
Uh-huh.
to get an image of what the climate is, and I think this really gives a good image of the whole year.
Perfect.
Also with the night temperatures, because that's some things you sometimes lack in other curves, temperature curves.
Oh,
So
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And also, what I would really like to add is that it gives you a really good understanding for how the climate or the weather behaves like throughout the
yeah,
year. So you know that it is a lot more warm during some months compared to others, and
yeah,
compared from day to nighttime, you can really see the gradients. But on the other hand, you always have to remember that the animals can be found in some microclimates, which can be really different. But on the other hand, they probably behave in the same way. So even if those rock lizards can be found in like the microclimate, which is more dry and more hot, for example, then I'm sure it is more hot throughout the summertime compared to the wintertime
yeah,
in the same ratio as it is in this graphic. So you can really draw the curves and maybe just move them a little bit up and down
yeah.
for your needs. But it will give you a good understanding of the behavior. Yeah.
And the cool thing is with this site is that you can also compare different places. So they just layer like these temperature curves on top of each other. It's
Mm-hmm.
also you can do in the site.
Ah,
I
so
think
if I
if you scroll down a little bit, I think just scroll down. Yeah, here go a bit above. Yeah, and then yeah, it's in German, of course,
okay,
with you. So you can
compared
just
to Antwerpen.
compare it to Antwerp, for instance.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
your area.
of course. Yeah, and here you can see.
Do I have to press like this?
No, it's so you can already see it. So
Oh,
now you
here.
can see
Ah, okay, okay.
the temperatures, and you can see that in summer you have a bit of overlap. So you have
It's not
some
really such a big difference.
similar
In the
temperatures.
summertime, it's
Yeah,
really comparable,
but
kind of.
in winter, of course, it's colder in Belgium than in South Africa, that part of South Africa.
Okay.
Um, so, but maybe in a greenhouse setting, you can heat it up.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah.
greenhouse, when a little bit of sun is shining on the greenhouse, it heats up pretty quickly. So that, for instance, is something you can try to manage in a greenhouse setup. Because yeah, that's something I find really interesting with this site is that you can like put layers on top. What you also can do is if you have an animal with a very big distribution, you can
Mm-hmm.
pick like three places where the animal lives. So
Uh-huh.
three like extremes where the animal lives, and also compare them to get
Ah, and
like a
overlay
general.
them.
Yeah,
Okay, so you
So
can
you
draw
can
the
do it
middle.
with you can do it later on with the species that Flo wants to keep. You just
Hmm.
pick three locations where the animal is found, which are far from each other, and then you just layer them on top, and then you can see if they match, so you can know what the extremes are and what like the general temperature is.
That's cool. I didn't know about weather spark, but I didn't know like the how to use it right, you know, with the map scrolling out and overlaying stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the overlaying is
Definitely.
very cool. If you want
Yeah,
to keep
def
things outside, that's
yeah,
really cool
true.
to do. Yeah.
All right.
So that's the
So
site I'll also use Weather Spark. You can find a lot more, of course. This is only like temperatures. You can find humidity, also
give me a source for all the climate data in condensed as much as possible. Is there one site that is the
yeah,
just
I just use Weather Spark.
but for humidity and I don't know, lighting, daylight length or something
Also
like
Weather
that?
Spark. You just go
Okay,
back.
you can
If
find
you
that?
just go back, then you can just scroll down and you can find way more. So you can also see whether there is a
Okay.
lot of clouds. So what
Okay.
the percentage of clouds is
Perfect.
every month. You can see the whether how much rain there is every month and throughout the year. You can see
The
just
sunlight,
yeah how much hours sun there are at the different times of year. Yeah, so you can find
sunset,
almost
sun.
everything.
Yeah.
The only
Oof.
thing maybe you
Man, crazy. That's
can't
humidity
really
here.
find. Yeah, but it's sometimes it's pretty difficult to read the graphs.
Hmm.
They get pretty complicated. The only thing you can find really easily over here is like the humidity. But like you said, microclimates are with a lot of animals a big um, yeah, is a big difference between microclimates when it comes to humidity and temperature,
Yeah.
um, especially with desert animals, of course.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I can imagine, especially for the humidity, that's where you really want to look close to have good values,
Yeah,
because that's probably something where you will orient a little bit more on the experiences from the keeper's side compared to the data from the habitat, because that's something that it can vary a lot in the microclimates. That's for sure true. But also, again, the cycle throughout the year can be, I think, adjusted or just learned from at the end of the day.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a really good site. If you just go to like the map again with all the different um, like yeah, how to call it maps of the
Okay, I
temperature.
think I have to go. Oh,
Uh,
here.
it's
Perfect.
really cool to just hang out on that map and just learn about the world because
Mm.
I've learned a lot about places that I didn't know were like sweltering hot all year long, or places that had like a very cool winter that I
What the
did not
fuck is
know.
here, for example?
Yeah, this is like a small island which is pretty hot all year round. So
Oh,
What the
yeah,
hell?
crazy.
but you can also like see
Glowing hot, it says.
when you go like to the Gobi Desert, of course. You know the Gobi
Mm.
Desert of Mongolia? If you go
Yeah.
over there, you can see that the winters are like very cold. It's like something, yeah. You also have like very cool lizards over there, like in
Where is Gobi
Amias.
Desert? It's
Yeah,
here?
it's over, yeah, it's a bit, I think if you zoom out, it's in Mongolia. So yeah, that place, yeah, if you just click that one,
This one?
yeah, that's almost like the Gobi Desert, a bit more south. But you can see that it goes really
Mm.
cool.
Crazy.
But you have lizards over
Yeah,
there. You have
okay.
like the Hemias przewalski, for instance, that lives
Mm.
there. So, and people would not
Man,
think about like a desert, Gobi Desert. They think, oh, it's hot, but if you look, it goes very cold in
man,
winter.
it's freezing for half of the year, close to.
So it can be a tip for everyone to just hang out on the side and
Okay,
just
yeah,
explore the
cool.
world and the
Interesting.
different climates and get the world get to know the world a bit better, of course, and especially the species you want to keep. So
All right, perfect. And after that, so that's when we have pictures of the animals inside of the habitat from my naturalist. That's where we have the places where you can find the animals. That's when where we have the climate data from the habitats. And what else are we looking for? Is there the process is done or does it continue?
let's continue. The thing
Okay.
also always check are these.
Okay.
So
Ah.
well written books, well written like field guides of reptiles. This one is from Western Sahara, so it's not the species I was talking about. So I don't have one of South Africa or Zimbabwe. But field guides are also very nice because a lot of field guides show photos of the habitats. They also talk about when the species are like visible, for instance. Are they active at night? Are they active in the morning, in the late afternoon? Are they most active when it's the hottest? Because they have searched for the species in the wild, of course. So that's something. Also observations, of course, where the animals are found. You can sometimes find a little bit more information about the microhabitats, because sometimes a guide will tell that they are found on, I don't know, a particular kind of bush of plants they prefer. So a field guide gives you like more detailed information about the habitats and where to go look for them, or where they can be found more. So yeah, that's why I think that good field guides are like gold if you have one for the species you want to keep.
Oh yeah, here it
Key.
says something. An abundant and very distinctive ground-dwelling gecko, known to be active both by day and night. It is usually found on open, dry, flat areas with hard, gravelly substrate or compacted sand and scattered vegetation. Males often
Okay.
signal by raising and waving their tails and by inflating while literally compressing the body and throat. It preys on ants and other arthropods. Females lay clutches of one or two hard-shelled eggs for the year. It's from the Field Herping Guide of Oman.
Yeah.
Uh,
So if you have one, and hands down to the people who write them, and sometimes go to the most extreme places in the world just to make like a field guide,
yeah.
which are, people are very dedicated to their craft. Um, because it's a good field guide is really something really interesting to go look for. And the cool thing is, which I also have been using a lot,
Maybe you
is
can
the
make a
thing.
cohabitation.
Yeah, I have I have a lot, so if you want some. But I think they would nibble on the geckos
I can
because
Yeah.
imagine.
they're not that kind to each other. But the thing I also I use is Google Books. So the
Mhm.
site Google Books is just a platform from Google itself where you go look for books. And the cool thing is that if you just type in the species you want to research, then a lot of times you get books where there are cited in, so where you can find information about them. And sometimes they also give like a preview of the animal you find interesting. So for instance, if you look for, I don't know, like Pistorius, and the book is on Google from the Oman or from another guide, sometimes they give you like a small preview of the book,
Mm.
but they give the page that talks about the species you keep. So sometimes you don't have to buy the book because they give you the preview for free.
Yeah, if you just need
Okay.
this one page, for
Yeah,
example, then
yeah.
it's all
So
that you need.
that's really comes really it's really handy if
Oh,
you're
okay,
searching
Smart.
for a lot of
interesting.
information. So of course, if you can buy the book, just buy the book because books are great to have, of course.
Yeah.
But
People need
if
more books.
if you just want to know the information, how much information there is about the species in the book, then you can maybe just look them up on Google Books and maybe get a preview.
Okay. Nice. That's good to know.
Is a good
Yeah.
tip to give. And of course, the books that I can recommend, of course, are Edition, Chimera, of course. The white ones always talk about a certain location. So this one is about
Yeah.
Western Sahara, for instance,
Uh-huh.
and then the black ones always talk about a family of animals, for
Mm.
instance, dart frogs or something. Um, so really good books, of course. One of the best, I think. But there are, of course, lot more field guides that can be found.
Yeah, that's true. I really love like to have a book at home because sometimes you think you buy it only for one species, and then like 2, 3 months later you are like,
Yeah,
oh, I have this book about uh the Sahara, and oh, there's another species that I'm interested in. Oh, I love it. And just like, for example, I really love the Reptilia magazines. I don't know
yeah,
if you know them.
yeah,
And it's like I use them so much. I have like 80 or 100 at home. And it's like I didn't brought them here, just like two or three that I look up a lot. And lately I was like, oh shit, I have this one at home. I could need it. This one at the moment. Like,
Yeah, it's great. It's always good to have a lot of stuff to read, of course.
And
yeah.
That's
also,
yeah.
sorry, and also,
Sorry, guys.
if you just spend some money on a book, if you pay like 20, 30, 40 bucks for a good book, then you also see more value in it. I feel like,
Mhm.
then you just put it on your shelf. Maybe it even has a cool cover and you're a little bit proud of it.
Yeah,
And sometimes you just take it out of the shelf and spend some time just going through it. Compared to just having an ebook stored on your phone is not really the same.
no.
It's like 2 years ago when I've been to Vietnam for the first time. I bought a uh, Mammals of Southeast Asia field guide, and I bought it as an ebook because I wanted to have it with me whenever I was in the forest, because sometimes we were out there at nighttime and we were just trying to watch some squirrels in the trees and stuff, and I wanted to be able to have the information available. But to be honest, I never take out my phone to check the ebook. But I have one or two field guides. There's one right here about primates of Vietnam, actually. And from time to time, I just love to spend time in the book. And I'm sure it
Yeah,
would be the same if I had the other one just in the printed version.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I also think that books have saved me from impulse
Mhm.
buying animals on shows like Ham or Halton in the Netherlands, because when you go to a show, you always want to buy something. That's something, yeah, you always want to buy something. And I've gone home a lot of time with nice, good books instead of an animal, because
Yeah, yeah,
you
okay.
also have like this feeling that you're happy because you
There's
bought
a little
something, but you
dopamine.
have, yeah, the dopamine shot from the book. And to be honest,
Uh,
yeah, a book is something. It's not something you have to care for, of course. So it has prevented me from sometimes maybe impulse buying an animal. So that's yeah, books are just great.
yeah, and also if like not all the books, but most of the books, they are like good and valuable information because not like every person sits there and writes a book about a species.
Yeah,
Like making an Instagram post is much more easy that you can
yeah,
find a lot of wrong information. So I think it's
of
also good
course. Yeah, yeah,
to outsource like false information as well.
yeah. That's true. Yeah, and that maybe brings it directly by the the other thing that are like scientific articles that you can search for, of course.
Yeah.
A site I use a lot of times is the reptile database, which looks like a pretty goofy site when you go look for it,
Mhm.
because it has like these very special colorations on it. But if you just go to quick search and search for the animal you want to know more about, the cool thing is that it gives like a very big lists of articles that are written, but also books that are written that talk about the animal. So that's the cool thing, of course. So I use Reptile Database, but also use like Google Scholar, for instance, or ResearchGate to go look for
Ah, all right, all right.
articles. Yeah, so here you can see the list. So references that shows all different kinds of books and papers that talk about the animal.
Ah, and sometimes you can
And
get the paper right away.
yeah,
Ah, perfect. Everything's
so
linked.
here you can see on the side, you can see the markings where the animal is like cited in the book.
Okay.
So that's a really good site I use. But of course, you can just look up the species you have on Google Scholar and look for like good papers. Uh, Sometimes it's too scientific. It's nothing you
Yeah.
can use because sometimes it's about a kind of protein in their blood or something. It's not something you
Yeah.
can use for herpetoculture. But they also talk about like I
Field
don't
data.
know, field data, yeah, where they can be
So
found.
maybe ingredients in the stomach if they
Yeah,
catch animals in the wild.
indeed, about the diet of the animal, also about the behavior.
Hmm.
You have some behavioral studies from for a lot of different animals, of course.
Sometimes
Um,
data about how do you say, state of conservation.
yeah, which is also something you have to consider, because I think a lot of people, maybe in herpetoculture, don't really consider whether an animal is like endangered or not.
Mm.
Luckily, a lot of the endangered animals are like on the CITES lists and are already protected in some kind of way. But I think it's pretty important that you know when you keep an animal, want to keep an animal, that you just know also the status that it's in nature, of course, in the wild. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
pretty interesting to know, of course.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why one of the big reasons why I decided against like the Ceratophora, for example, because of like
Is it?
their
Yeah.
yeah. And not
Are
the
they endangered?
Ceratophora,
Yeah.
the Cofotes, sorry. I was like
I don't
the
know that at all.
Cofotes. The
What's,
Cofotes,
I don't know what it is.
they're the Sri Lankan pygmy lizards. They
No,
These
look like
three
really
gametes.
something I have to look for at night, this night in my bed on the
yeah,
iNaturalist.
you gotta be hooked because you can also keep them outside.
Oh no, don't tell me that.
Yeah, because like the whole thing because of the outside keeping was actually because of you. I was after the episode, I was like,
But it's from
I
Sri
have a
Lanka.
yeah, look it up
So,
and
but it's pretty hot all year in
yeah,
Sri
but
Lanka.
highland species.
Oh, yeah,
Ben,
highly species, something else.
show
Yeah,
show it to him.
Ah, okay, okay.
show me. I'm too curious now. I just also
It's
want to
a
know how it's written.
it's an insane species. I'm pretty sure you've seen it.
Kofo-
Wanna
Kofotis? Never heard of it. Oh, but it looks like the Japanese
yeah, Yapalura or something.
Yapalura. Yeah, also,
Yeah.
yeah,
Kind
I have
of.
seen it. I think I have seen it. Yeah, I have seen it before. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
pretty
it's
cool.
crazy. It's
And the size
crazy.
is insane, man.
Yeah, the
They're
size is
incredible.
full grown.
But they
They're
on the pictures,
incredible.
they look so much bigger. If you see this one, it could be a real life dragon, you know?
Yeah, they're
Yeah, but
cool.
it's like they're so
And
endangered and like
are they active? An active species?
I don't think so.
not really. But it's also like they're like poached a lot from in the wild and like Red listed, CITES one animal. A
Yeah,
lot of animals died over the last few years, like even in
yeah.
good breeders' hands. And you have like the smuggling. Yeah. And
Are
it's
they?
like,
It's really a decision to take into
Yeah,
consideration.
yeah.
And that's
You have to go
something
for
that
it.
you can only learn about if you like really go and dig for the scientific papers because it's not the information that's for most of the species that's not really easily I don't know available or published by
Yeah,
I don't know many or researched for even by many people. So that's something that you really have to dig for if you want to have an understanding for that.
yeah. True, true.
mm,
Yes, I think it's very important that you know what the conservation status is of the animal you want to keep.
Okay,
mm,
All
so.
right.
Is it that for the process or is there another step?
No, you just yeah, the scientific papers, of course.
Okay.
For some species you find a lot, and for other species you find like some almost nothing. So you
Yeah.
have to have a bit of luck, of course. Another thing I always check, and that not a lot of people actually know, is the is actually the Piazza UV tool. It's something I talked about to you, Ben, but I got to know it also, I think, through Chester Zoo, I think. It's a kind of tool that it's made by the Association of British Zoos and Aquaria, sorry. And it is like a big database of different species, and there they have like gathered information. The things we are doing now, they already gathered like in a big Excel database with a lot of information about when the animal is active, what temperatures they have at night, in different seasons throughout the year, what kind of biome the animal lives, what kind of Ferguson zone actually also, which is something else we also yeah need to know actually when we want to keep the animal in captivity. So yeah, it's a very good database that everyone can see. It's just open to the public, but not a lot of people know it. So it's a real good database. I don't know whether the animal you want to keep, like the Prestuvis, is on there. I don't think so because it's more a new species that's been more lately like popular in captivity. I think also in zoos. I don't think a lot of zoos have them.
So where can I
Uh,
find the source?
I can.
It is Biaza UV tool.
Yeah, Biaza UV tool, I can just
I have this
maybe I
one.
can give you the link
Yeah.
through
It,
Zoom.
it just this it's like a PDF file.
Yeah, and normally you have like a link to it. Let me put it into chat because I just have it.
Okay.
Normally you can find it pretty easily on the internet. So it's from the site www.uvguide.co.uk.
Okay,
So
it's
I
basically
send it
this
in the chat.
one. Yeah, okay.
So maybe we can put like the link more easily for the listeners also in the description.
I think we can
Because
really summarize the information and make it available, in whatever way, just with one
yeah,
script
one
or
list.
something
Yeah,
where the people can
it's not
really.
that site. Can you maybe open the link that I sent you? I sent
Yeah,
you
okay.
in the chat.
Where do I find the fucking chat? Okay, I got it. It's this one.
Yeah, and then you just download UV tool. This
Ah,
is
so
the
it's a tool that I
button.
install like locally.
Yeah, it's just like an
Oh,
Excel document.
yeah, no, I get it. Okay.
You just have to open it. And the cool thing is that actually everyone, can submit a new species to get to add to the list. Yeah? But the thing is that you just don't can add it to it. There's people like herpetoculturists, but also zookeepers and curators that look into your information and then have to accept it to the list. So it's like a quality control. Um, yeah, that's it
Nice.
Okay.
basically.
The thing is that give me a second before I can open it.
Can you open it?
Yeah, no, still need a moment.
Never heard of that site, but it's nice to know.
Yeah, it's something I've learned through also going to like I've went
Okay.
to the conference from the BHS, the British Herpetocultural Society, and they also talk about it, and that's why I know it. But also from the zoos in Great Britain.
Oh
So this
man,
is
that's a
yeah,
crazy source.
this is the big list. So you can just go through it
Ah,
through alphabetically, but I don't think Prestosis is on it. What you
no.
can do, of course, is look for another species that lives in Oman in the same region, and then you maybe can find some shared information. I don't know which Euromestic species live in Oman.
What?
Are the Tomasi from Oman?
The
Euromestics?
Euromestics, I think so. Wait,
So I think that there are quite some Euromestic species on the list. But the
yeah,
cool thing is,
Tomasi.
Yeah?
Yes.
lives in Oman.
Yeah, Tomasi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who's on the list? I don't know. Euromestics.
No.
No?
Maybe some antelope or something.
This is only for reptiles and amphibians. I think
Okay.
only reptiles. So you have
Some turtle? Which turtle can we find
greenery.
in Oman?
Yeah, you have to have a bit of luck, of course. It's not always you will find
Yeah.
the animal that you have, but the cool thing is that it gives you a lot of information, and you know that it's like quality checked by people who know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's a cool thing. And
Okay, man.
the
Perfect.
actual goal from the tool is to give people more information about how to use UV on a proper way. They talk about it's like a whole path you can take throughout the Excel document that talks
What?
about UV, how to use it. Also talk about different UV lamps that are on the
Wow.
market. Yeah,
Wow. That's worth a whole
yeah.
separate episode, I feel like, because
You can
that's also
spend like a day
yeah,
on
yeah.
that on that, on
Such an
that
interesting,
tool.
important
But
topic.
but it's free for everyone. So yeah, I think that's also something you have to check. If your
And
species
it's
goes on
endless.
there, it can be like the puzzle pieces you talked about. It can be some more puzzle pieces you can find over there,
Hmm.
and it's used by zoos in the UK.
It's fucking
It's nice.
incredible. Thank you, man.
Yeah,
That's
no
that's a very
biggie.
nice
I
tool.
did not make it, so I just tell you what I use and what I found throughout the years. Yeah, let me think. The next step I would take. Next step I would take is let me check real fast. Is I would maybe go look on social media, and you may think now that, oh shit, that's not really like scientific. But I would go look on social media to get to know people who live in the region that the animal lives in. So
Okay.
if you can find like people, sometimes you find, I don't know, local herpetologists on there. So if you just type in a species on Facebook, for instance, you get all different posts with the species cited in it.
I have
And
prepared
sometimes you can
something.
find, oh, you have prepared something.
I
Yeah,
have
also like the
prepared the
page from
group
Herping the Globe. Yeah.
Herping the
Um,
Globe. Yeah.
you can also find people, for instance, that live in the area, or people that visit the area a lot. And it's also, yeah, it's great information if you want to know more about the species, about the Morocco habitats. You can find them in about the location. You can find in specific locations. So yeah, I think social media is a very good place to get to know people.
This guy,
Yeah,
for
just to get,
example.
yeah. So I've already I freestyled a lot to people just to know more about animals that I keep. When do you find them? With I don't know. Do you find them more in the morning, more in the late evening? Are they out? Are they out on these kind of rocks or something? Just very specific questions. Sometimes they can help you, sometimes they can't. But it's really good to have some connections with people who see those animals often in the wild. So yeah, sometimes you can see videos of the behavior. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yes, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the same is also for Instagram. If you just look up a species, just like hashtag Pasturus parteri, and then you can find all kind of photos of people that keep them also in captivity, which can be interesting later on. But you can also just find people who found them in their backyard, for instance, or people who go look for them herping on trips. So yeah, I think social
Okay.
media is a good source to get to know people, because we haven't talked about people. We have talked about like climate data and photos, but we haven't really talked about people. It's also
Mhm.
something you can do through iNaturalist, actually, because iNaturalist also shows who took the picture, of course. So you can also reach out to people through iNaturalist. So
That's pretty,
yeah,
that's smart. What I also like to do is sometimes when the locals have like a different name for the animal, like a local name, you can
yeah,
also looking for that on Instagram. Then you get like only the local
yeah.
shots.
That's a really good tip. Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I
Look
really
for
like that.
as money, nothing to do with money. As much different names, indeed local. Look for the Latin name, look for the English name, the local name, the German name, I don't know, whatever
Yeah,
you can find. It will give more yeah, more information, more new information if you use different languages. So yeah, it's a good tip. Very good.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's like the basic. And of course, yeah, do a field trip. If you can, do a field trip
yeah.
to the place. That's like the best thing, because a lot of people who visit the place of the animal they keep, they will just turn their captive husbandry like
Around.
360 degrees around, because
Yeah, I
yeah,
can imagine.
it's such a big impact to see the animals in the wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And also
and
feel everything and stuff like that. It's you can't just see data and are like, ah, yeah, that's this and that. Like sometimes 24 degrees feels completely different in
yeah,
Denmark than like in Madagascar, for
yeah,
example. Like,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. And I
And
think it's
also,
also ethically, sometimes you get like a pretty big shock if you keep
mm,
animals pretty small and you see them roaming around in just in the wild. You sometimes it's a pretty big shock ethically also, and that can make you not keep the animals anymore, but that can also just make you give them more space, or try a system like Ben is creating that is more that will recreate like the captive environment, more like the wild environment. So yeah, it's always good to do
Or it
field
can make
trips.
you shift more into outdoor keeping.
Yeah, that also, for instance, yeah, to give them more the natural, yeah, just the natural climates, like real sunlight and real rain and stuff. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I also think that if you do it, if you really do it the right way, and if you want to get into a new species, then usually you should set up a budget for yourself.
Yeah,
That's gonna be for the enclosure, for the animals themselves, for the food animals and the whole system around that, for keeping the feeder animals and so on. And if you do it the right way, maybe you should also plan in a budget for a trip to the habitat for a field trip. So if it's like for these geckos, I mean, if the total budget is like 1,000 euros, then you maybe spend 200 on the setup and another 300 on the animals, 100 on the equipment, and then you have another 400 for I don't know, 5 day trip to Saudi Arabia, just to really get a feel for the animals, and then you're really prepared as well as you can, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
so
think this step is like the real advanced step because when you look at
yeah,
it
yeah,
from a perspective of like someone who just wants to is new to this whole hobby and just
yeah,
wants to get like a lot of information about a species, you can't, for example, never travel somewhere to see a species that I keep because it's like money wise not like in the
yeah,
budget.
yeah. Of
yeah,
course,
yeah,
yeah,
So,
okay.
but it is like the cherry on top, of course, if you have the time and the money to do it, because like if you have a partner or something who don't want to spend the vacation herping, it's also like,
yeah. Same
but
here.
yeah,
Yeah, I just to say, if you can do it, if you can't because of money, for instance,
yeah,
it's not like an issue. It's not that you can keep the animal, of course, but
Yeah, yeah,
if you can explore the habitat because it's and see the animal in the wild because it's yeah,
yeah,
immaculate to just to see the animals.
or even just go for a herping day locally, a herping trip locally, you
Yeah,
know, sleep out in the woods in a tent. You will get a feel for what's going on out there. You know,
yeah,
that will, of course, for sure influence you the way
sure.
yeah.
you handle your animal stuff. Okay, so maybe we can quickly just get into the different sources and do some quick research about these geckos. And then we can maybe just quickly discuss our findings and what type of an impact that can have on the planning process of the setup, for example, the climate
Yeah.
and so on. Maybe we can just start with iNaturalist. I already prepared the right species here. It is Pristurus carteri. Yeah. So here we can find some really nice habitat shots. And I have to say the geckos are, man, how fucking cute are they? It's crazy, right? It's
Yeah.
almost surreal.
Yeah, the beak, it's like almost a bird kind of beak.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. It
Crazy,
looks so
man.
bizarre. And also the
Yeah.
coloration is
yeah.
insane.
What the hell? Okay, they are really spectacular, man. Good choice. So, okay, we can find them here in Saudi Arabia, as you said, mostly like in the area of Oman.
Hmm.
So when we switch to the weather spark, that's where we're gonna uh put the I don't know how do you say pin.
Yeah. The pin, yeah, the pin. Yeah. Maybe
Uh
we can layer some the extremes that they live, like geographically,
okay.
and layer them to get a more of a view.
So we
But
find
later
them
on, yeah,
in the north of Oman.
yeah,
We find them on the mostly on the
the coast,
coast.
yeah,
Of course,
So we can go down here.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so we
That's
will pick
all.
like three spots, okay?
There's
yeah.
also one island that they live on, like the small one down there. I think it's Masira Island or something it's called.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And actually, I looked for
Oh,
that
this one?
in the, yeah,
Ah, yeah, okay.
yeah,
Perfect.
Yeah,
We got
you
it.
can,
Got a map right here.
yeah.
And then also in the south.
yeah, you have one in the south, like
Uh,
Because with
just the
this
south.
species,
yeah,
for
let
example,
me just
it's
take this one then.
Yeah,
Okay.
so real quick with this species, it's very interesting because there are a lot of localities in the hobby, like from different areas. Like for example, the
okay,
one from the Masira Island or from Saha. Lahala, and it's crazy. Like the one on the island is like it has like a pretty huge average humidity, like of like 70%, like average throughout the
Mhm.
year, and compared to like
Oh, we can check.
another
Wait a
place
second.
where the yeah, yeah,
Because see, I think there's one that they have like a big difference. The purple graph shows big differences.
yeah,
But of course, these are airports, of course. You have to
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
So
take
this
that
is
into
a
account.
temperature. I can't really find the humidity, but we can maybe find just compare the raining. There was this likelihood of moisture in the air. That was one of the graphs. But
Yeah,
first, about the temperature. Yeah, you're right. This one purple graph is really a lot more hot than the other
yeah.
two, and it gets up to 38 degrees on an average in June.
yeah.
That is pretty fucking crazy, man. Are you ready for that?
That's the one up in the north, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's like the area where the least of them are found.
Yeah, so
Most of
oh,
maybe
them
okay.
are like down in the south, like yeah, more on the coast, I
okay.
guess.
Yeah,
Because up there,
true.
I think that the one in the north isn't even a cartery, if I'm
Oh, okay. Yeah,
right.
yeah. If you look at the green and the red graph, it's more like similar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And they
yeah,
really go down in the wintertime to like 20, 19 degrees on average. So maybe you can really shut down the lighting or really dim the lighting throughout a shorter period of time of like 3 months or so, and then bring it back up again.
yeah. Or like a small um basking
Hallertau.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Hmm.
actually wondering if you could, if there's like really hot days in the summer, if you could keep them outside.
Yeah,
Maybe
will be possible if it's really hot.
maybe
Yeah,
with
If
an
you have like
additional heat lamp and good ventilation.
yeah, but I think you could do it outside for a few days in summer in Belgium or
yeah,
Germany, but it's only a few days because then it's raining again. And I don't think
yeah.
you have so much rainfall over there. I don't
No,
know. I
no,
should
no.
have to check. But yeah, and yeah, for a few days you can do it, of course. But a lot of reptiles you have. A lot of reptiles you can keep outside for a few days in summer.
Yeah,
It's no big issue. Especially with this
yeah,
species, they can handle some heat, I think.
yeah. I think you can tolerate some fluctuation in like temperature.
Yeah,
Here it
and
says, oh, sorry,
yeah, it's in German, so I'm also just
likelihood
guessing.
of humid conditions, and it is around 100% for a third of the year.
Yeah, it's a coastal area, so
Hmm.
in summer it's like I think it's pretty sweltering, so it's pretty humid and
Yeah, the humidity is actually not that low. It's like the lowest is like 50% in one area, and the highest is like 70. I have
yeah,
it
I
like
think at
written
night
down.
at night it will probably go to 90, 95 just
Yeah,
because
Yeah,
it
exactly,
it
because
condensates so much.
the
Yeah,
air is
that
so saturated throughout the day. Like it collects like the water throughout the day. Maybe for the daytime, it's more like an average humidity. But once the temperatures drop,
yeah,
the air
and
just
clouds
can't
roll
hold
in.
this amount of humidity, and the
Yeah,
relative humidity shoots through the roof then.
yeah,
Yeah, okay, man, that's pretty interesting. So I can really see you maybe even using like a fogger
mm,
for the setup.
yeah,
Do you
yeah, I
still
thought
yeah.
have
about it.
yours?
Yeah, I have it. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna
Okay.
You
use
can.
it.
I should use it. They do it like a lot also with like these Egyptian tortoises, for instance. It's also like a species that a lot of people that breed them also like use foggers at night just to give them this high humidity to these animals because they need it and they take in a lot of pretty like I don't know how much it is actually, but they take in quite a lot of water just by breathing it in, just breathing in the water, the evaporation of the water. So it's pretty interesting, pretty important for the desert species is the humidity in the air to take in just by breathing. So I
Yeah,
think a fogger would be a great thing to use.
Maybe
yeah.
we
I
can
mean,
just go over. the
Yeah,
sources.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I
it's a
think it's
good.
really cool for the listeners that they have like something that they can also use because I think a lot of people are not really sure how to get information. I think over the last year I just figured out what's the best way to get like information properly.
Yeah, and the best is just to have a wide variety of information. So if you see like certain information popping up all over again, then the likelihood of them being true is more high than if you just see one random information in one, I don't know, article.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's always good to diversify the knowledge and to use as many sources as possible. So on the IUCN Red List, we can also find the distribution in the Oman
Yeah,
area. We can see that they are listed as least concern, which was also like a topic in the decision-making process behind the species, which is pretty neat if you ask me. The species is pretty new in the hobby, from what I know, just around for a
yeah.
couple of years, but they're not threatened in the wild. They are being bred
What
in
I
captivity very well. Yeah.
what you have to take in account is that you can always watch if you go back up to the top when
Oh, fuck.
the species was last assessed. So this one has been assessed the last time in 2012. So you have to take that in account.
Ah, okay.
Mm,
That sometimes the latest data is from 2012. So the
Okay.
situation, it's now like 12 years later. Situation
yeah,
could be totally different, of
horrible.
course not.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
here there's also information on the population, which is here unspecified, but maybe for some other species you can
yeah,
really find. Oh, here it says it is found in high densities throughout its range. Not uncommon.
yeah.
Okay, interesting.
You can also find on habitat and ecology. Sometimes there's a lot of information, sometimes there's almost nothing. Um, and also when it's threatened, you can see the reasons why it's threatened or why it's endangered. So
Mm.
yeah,
Okay, pretty fucking cool. So
good.
then sorry, then I've also searched for a field guide just in Google, and I found this field guide of the reptiles of Oman.
Yeah,
So if I then, yeah, I mean, we already had it, right? We already read it
Yeah.
out.
yeah.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting source where you can also find all the other species that are found in the same habitat, maybe some of which can also be found in the hobby.
And could also be found maybe in the Biasa tool.
True.
Yeah, the UV tool.
Okay.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
also found
true,
Hobby Net.
exactly. Here you can go through, yeah, all the
If you
species and try to find them in the Biasa tool.
if you want to make like a big greenhouse again, Floor, you can maybe cohabitate
Cohab.
some more species from Oman.
Man, what the fuck is going on here? Look at these lizards, man. Crazy.
That's crazy.
Extreme, yeah.
So many gecko species, man.
Yeah. It's insane.
Lizards for the win.
The Tomasi. Man, they are also kind of cool. Imagine those in a cohabitation. I mean, they are vegetarians.
Yeah, I think it
So
will work. It
Sam,
could
could
work.
be.
Yeah.
Could really. Yeah.
definitely. But the electricity bill on this greenhouse would be
Yeah, but man, maybe you can just breed them and sell them for profit and that way make a.
Also, oh, Philosopher is also.
Oh, these ones are so cool too. The
Yeah,
toad
and
head and the
Abacus.
helmet.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this one? Calotus?
it's
Calotus?
but it's invasive, yeah.
Introduced.
Oh,
Yeah.
but interesting. Oh man,
Can
what?
it survive because it's like more like an species? Yeah, I think it's an opportunist. I
Yeah,
think
Yeah,
it's a
Calotus, but
and maybe near the coast there's some forest areas.
yeah,
Doesn't
that
necessarily need to
could be
be a
cool.
desert area.
It's funny.
Yeah,
yeah,
interesting.
nice.
Okay, so that's that.
Yeah,
And then there is
reptile
the reptile
database.
database
Yes.
Yes.
where we can just copy paste the name and let's see what we can find over there. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think people get a hang of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we can
Yeah.
find some more habitat pictures.
And I mean
Yeah.
also the same sources that we
Oh,
already
we can
listed.
You can also maybe something that's interesting for the someone who's listening, for everyone who's listening. You can also see the previous names. So if they were
Oh,
renamed, you can see the previous names, and sometimes you can
Mm,
search for information with the previous name of the animal.
all right. Especially if it was renamed recently, then
Yeah,
maybe under
yeah,
the old name you can find better information. It was the case for the lizards that you introduced us with today, because were formerly listed as Gerosaurus, I think, for a long
yeah,
time.
yeah,
And I
true.
think you can find a lot of information about them,
Yeah,
the old name.
definitely. Yeah,
Okay.
here. Yeah,
Then maybe what is this one? It's another
it's a
field guide or
book.
field
something.
guide. Yeah,
Animals
Yeah.
of the Kruger National Park. Oh, well, that was because of the other species.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, but still, that was Google Books and Google Scholar.
yeah.
Here
Google
there's
Scholar, of course.
another random paper, Reptiles and Amphibians of Southern Arabia. Don't know if it's a good one, but yeah, it's all sources that we can just collect and we can put everything in a Google Drive. Here, this one is like this scientific paper stuff that is not really valuable for the herpetoculture, and
Sometimes you
most
can
of
find
it,
small,
maybe.
interesting
Could,
parts.
yeah. I tried to find one because on Google Scholar there was really a lot of articles on this genus or species, but
Hmm.
most of them seem to be super abstract and too much scientific for us to really gather some
Yeah,
information from. But
maybe
maybe in some of them,
if you
um,
just like print them out, I always prefer to print them out and just take like a marker and just mark what's interesting and put it
yeah,
in a map. That's the way
yeah,
I still use it.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that's smart.
All right, so that's the Biasa tool and the
yeah,
Herping the Globe group. I just quickly checked for the species and we can find some really nice habitat pictures and yeah, also people you can connect with if you want
yeah.
to.
Especially
Uh,
for the microclimates.
yeah, and you can
Um,
just maybe just ask the people, hey man, you took the cool photo of the gecko. Just do you remember the under which type of rock you found it? I
Mm.
mean, why not?
yeah,
Why not reach out?
and try to look for like herpetologists that live in the area, local herpetologists. I think some will help you, some won't because you're it's about land captivity, but I think sometimes they will help out and tell you more about how the species actually lives and what microclimates and stuff. So yeah,
Pretty cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
man, I have to go to the toilet so bad. So the question
So,
is, do we want to end it in the next couple of minutes or do we want to take a little break?
yeah, I think we can also end it. I mean,
it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
late, and I think it's also was
I think it
pretty
was
good.
very cool and
Yeah.
very condensed, and maybe we should not stretch it more than we need to.
yeah, it's already a lot of information, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's super nice information.
Man, it was so great to have you, Sam. Really, thank
Yeah.
you so much.
My
So it's
pleasure, of course. If I can spread information for people to take better care or maybe even better care for their animals, it's worth it. So my pleasure.
So, if the people want to know from you firsthand, uh, where can they book like your courses? And are you also planning to
Yeah,
offer it in remote?
yeah. So I have the course, of course, with a herpetological education and research project, which is owned by and led by Brian Minne and Laura Roosevelt. We have a lot of different courses, of course. I have made two, which is the science-based husbandry and also the mixed habitats, where I talk about like mixed exhibits. Um, uh, and the thing is that previously we only gave the courses in like real life, which was in Belgium, but we are thinking about going also in sort of like a webinar style way to reach more people who just can't come to Belgium, of course. And yeah, just reach more people. More information will be on the site of Herb, so it's just HERP on Google. More information will be on the site, but also on the socials of Herb, but also my socials, which are Sam Aneca or Aneca Terra on Instagram. So more information will come shortly. So if people want to follow the full course and also get like a template for the species to use, they can always contact me if they have more questions.
And they definitely should.
Yeah.
And you get a small booklet, but of course, if it's digital, you get it a digital way.
Very cool. Okay.
Man. Awesome.
Fingers crossed for your project, man. I really like it. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys build the small Oman habitats for the Bristolus.
Yeah, also looking forward.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Okay.
Man.
Thank
All
you so
right,
much, you
guys.
two.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys,
Was
for
a pleasure.
listening. Check
Yeah,
out Sam, check
it was
out
fun.
us,
Thanks to
and
all the listeners who stayed with us for all the talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you like the episode. And the next, then I think I'm not sure if it's the next episode in our community terrarium episode or the one after, but then we're gonna speak about the discussion behind captive bred or wild caught imported animals. We're also gonna have a guest on this episode if everything goes right. So stay tuned. And good evening.
good evening. Peace
Bye.
out.
Bye.